Good morning. Welcome, everybody. We certainly been blessed this morning by some good weather, and even better news, rain's on the way. Thank you for your attendance today, and more importantly, thank you for your interest and support for transportation. My name's Brian Taylor. I'm the Division 4 Division Engineer for North Central Oklahoma. It's a 9-county region, and we're here to celebrate the completion of the reconstruction of State Highway 33 from Drexel Street to State Highway 105. It's a $5.2 million project. The project was originally identified by my predecessor, Mr. Paul Green, as a shouldering project. Now the Director of Operations for the state of Oklahoma. The shoulders were limited in thickness and were in a constant state of disrepair and an eyesore to the city. As part of the removal and reconstruction of the shoulders, we felt it would be prudent to repair and replace the broken and cracked concrete panels and to restore the ride along with the diamond grind. At the same time, we were working with the city of Guthrie on possible solutions to the problems they were experiencing along the corridor. Those being lack of gaps in traffic for left turns, angle and rear end accidents, long lines during peak at the side streets, and the northbound off-ramp. Given the needs and the numbers of problems, our project grew into a long-term solution as opposed to a 10 to 15-year fix. These improvements were made possible due to the interest and support for transportation by your locally elected officials. I'd like to introduce Senator Guthrie.
As a resident of the area for many years, 17 years, I lived off of Highway 105. I have traveled this stretch of road, well, I wouldn't even want to try to count the number of times. It is very important to the life of this community. When I look at our state, I think that our heart is found in our cities and towns, but those cities and towns are connected by the veins of our state, and those are our highways, roads, and bridges. And so it is very important that we maintain our commitment to that, and I know that these gentlemen like to hear me say that, to improving, making travel across our state as safe as possible, as convenient as possible, and make sure that we maintain this very important infrastructure so that our economy continues to thrive, and our communities continue to reap the benefit of easy travel back and forth. So I want to, of course, recognize the hard work of the Department of Transportation and the hard work of the city of Guthrie, maintaining things. Chief, while it was growing pains are always hard, and we had several months with some issues to deal with, and I know that the chief and his crew, along with our city crews, did a great job of maintaining and making sure that we were able to get through here while the construction was going on. So thank you, everybody, for your commitment. The city of Guthrie is worthy of every single dime that was invested in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We also have with us today one of our partners in the project, with the city of Guthrie, Mayor Stephen Gently.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank all of you for being here. And this is certainly a proud time for all of us in Guthrie to be a part of this transition from something that was a bit of a challenge for transporting people getting off the highway. It was a challenge for me getting my almost daily fix to an ice cream shop down here, and now that's much faster. So I thank you personally for that, for the Department of Transportation for making that happen. The coordination between the city and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation during this process was incredible, because as you can imagine, with the traffic that we're hearing behind us, happening almost 24 hours, 7 days a week, to orchestrate the construction of that, with all of that going on with minimal disruption, was incredible. An incredible feat and great cooperation between the city and ODOT, and we greatly appreciate that. Of course, we're also excited for another phase in a investment in our community, with the work that will continue on west with the viaduct construction and the continuation of 33 and Noble Avenue further on west. It is a great investment in our community. We thank so much for the state and for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for their involvement, for their recognition of the challenge, and of course for the professionalism of the end product. It is great for our community. It's great for our state, and we so much appreciate that. So Brian, on behalf of the citizens of Guthrie, thank you and the staff that you represent in Oklahoma Department of Transportation as a great partner in the thriving of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We're honored to have quite a few more people in the audience that I'd like to introduce, and the next gentleman really doesn't need an introduction. He's been with the department. Started out as a maintenance worker, went to the director of the Department of Transportation, is now the secretary for transportation in the state of Oklahoma, Mr. Gary Ridley.
Thank you, Brian. Senator, Mayor. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the nation's first capital and the road coming into it, and hopefully the road that will come in from the other side. Senator, Mayor, the governor sends her best wishes. She's very pleased about the project. I'm sure on this Saturday she'll be headed up this way and maybe drive by. It's important to note that we can see the commerce moving up and down freely without the thump and the noise that it creates and the damage that it causes to the vehicles. You mentioned the project, and I'd be a little remiss if I didn't say you mentioned a project that we've all wanted and we've all waited for, and that's the bridge on the west side of town. That's been a problem for Guthrie. I started work, as Brian pointed out, back in 1965, and it's been a problem even back then. And I know that Brian and the department and Director Patterson have focused on that bridge for some time. You know, I talked about it for 15 years, but Mike is going to do something about it, so, which is a lot better deal. But it can only be done if the funding's available. And Senator, you, as you pointed out in your comments, the focus that has to be on transportation, because if we're going to keep communities like Guthrie alive, if we're going to be able to make freedom of travel for the public safely, things like that bridge need to be replaced, and we have them all over the state. And we know there are difficult times coming up this year, as there was last year, but I think if all of us work together, we can solve the problems. And I'm really pleased that Guthrie has the leadership of which they have in the new senator. She is not going to be. She came in as a freshman senator, as a senior senator. I don't know how that is. I don't know why that worked that way, but it did. And you ought to be very proud of her being here up there, because we're sure proud of her while she's there. She's going to be a great leader of the future. Thank you.
We're also honored to have our Executive Director of the Department of Transportation, Director Mike Patterson.
Thank you, Brian. Senator, Mayor, it's good to be in Guthrie today. I live in Logan County, so it's good to be at the county seat occasionally for something other than an election. But it is good to be here today. As it's all been talked about, we had a great contractor on this project. Do-It Construction is one of the best contractors we have to work with. The investment that's made on this corridor right here, you can already see the change, not only in safety, which is #1 for us, safety is number one, but we also bring about, with any project like this, an investment that provides economic development along the corridor. It provides additional revenues, Mr. Mayor, in sales tax to the city, income tax to the state, and property tax to the school district. It is these kind of investments that when you really think about it, you begin to wonder, what did this really cost the state of Oklahoma to make this improvement? It cost the agency something, but to the state, likely it didn't cost anything because of the increased values. But as we look to that, Mayor, you talked about the west side of Guthrie. Gary has worked hard on that project for, as he said, 15 years. And likely he was out there patching it 50 years ago. But it's something that we're finally going to make a huge improvement to the west side of Guthrie, and we're anxiously anticipating that project next year. Hopefully, if the funding holds out. So, again, one more thing I want to do is something the mayor mentioned, and I think it just needs to be emphasized. We really appreciate the patience of the community of Guthrie, the citizens of Logan County and the city of Guthrie while we were doing this project. And we'll need that same kind of patience when we get to the west side. Thank you again for being here and holding the rain off. It's another Chamber of Commerce Day in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Thank you.